Don't you dare disagree with me. Social sorting. In a nutshell, our brains are not able to process the amount of disagreement we encounter on the social internet. The very mechanisms that made it possible for our ancestors to work together in the first place are derailed in ways we were not prepared for. Whether you want it to or not, your brain sorts people by worldviews and opinions into teams. This is not simply tribalism, it goes further. Researchers have called this process social sorting. On the digital town square, you encounter people that express opinions or share information that clash with your worldview. But unlike your neighbor, they don't root for your local sports club. You're missing the local social glue your brain needs to align with them. For your brain, the disagreement between yourself and them becomes a central part of their identity. And this makes it less likely that you will seriously consider their position or opinion in the future. If you hear bad things about them, your brain is much more likely to believe it uncritically.
Well, howdy y'all. This here's Guardian of Ultima, coming back to you today with another video for RUO Scams, the only place to go when you are looking for a shard. That's right, and today is a very special video because it is the Season 1 finale, Part 1. Yes, it's December now, and I thought it might be a good time to take the opportunity to wrap things up in a kind of seasonal format. This is mostly because I already have enough content for at least 8 to 10 videos for next year, I think. And throughout the year, I'm kind of expecting that we're going to have more problems. It's just because, reputation and the way that people think. And that clip that I just showed you is by Kurskazart. I highly recommend that you go into the description and take a look at I'll link the whole video there. Definitely subscribe to Kurskazart. It'll help you stay informed, and the more informed that you are, the stronger and more resilient this community will become. Today we're going to be asking ourselves the question, is UO Outlands scamming children? Handicapped children? And the reason we're asking this question is because it's always really hard to say exactly who somebody is and what their situation is. You can never really tell, and I think if, in a lot of our communities here on Ultima Online, things are pretty toxic. Like, I can't imagine that many players are going to admit that they play because it's cheap. We all know that a lot of players play Ultima Online because it's cheap, right? It's a cheaper habit than, some drinking or, addictive substances or gambling or, things like that. And I think a lot of people play Ultima Online because they're trying to get away from that stuff, right? And so, we have to be careful about how we treat each other, and I think this video is going to be enlightening for some people. So, well, let's take a look here. The first thing I want to do is go through some of the comments from the last video. And I saw on YouTube that there were a few comments here. Ansem Omega, this is hilarious. Keep up the great work. Right on, thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, yeah, I'm not signed in. All right, back to the comments here. Well, howdy, y'all. Right on. And that's the thing that I wanted to kind of bring up here. These videos are not scripted, right? These are reaction videos. I'm trying to react to, things that I'm finding in the community, right? And if it was really heavily scripted, it doesn't work the same way. I'm going for authenticity here, right? And so here's Q Brad Q. You really sound like a conspiracy nut now. You're talking about false narratives and accusing shard owners of RMT with absolutely zero evidence. Okay, that's not what happened. I never accused anybody of anything. However, in my last video, I tried to go through some of the comments from this season's videos. All the videos from this season, I looked through the comments, and I brought a few up in the last video, right? When I created this channel, part of the reason that I did so was to give these people a voice, which I felt had been, erased by enclosure tactics, right? And, the science behind that is what I showed you at the start of this video, in the Kurskazar video. Basically, what that's all about is, it's saying that you're a lot less likely to listen to somebody based on, if you hear that they have a bad reputation, right? Or if it's like me trying to get through to Outlands players about, not maybe supporting this kind of behavior or trying to send a message to these people, they're a lot less likely to do it because I'm not on Team Outlands. I'm not rooting for Team Outlands, right? It's not that I'm necessarily against Outlands. I'm against, players not being treated fairly, and that's why I started making these videos. So it says, and I never accused anyone of RMT with absolutely zero evidence. I just read a comment that speculated that, and I, commented on it because it's only natural, I think, that some people are going to speculate that if the GM's attitude is that it's their shard and you're just all guests, then they can do whatever they want. So what are they doing? What could they be doing, right? If I'm not going to just only bring up the comments that I can prove with evidence or whatnot, right? Like, I'm gonna give people a voice, and if they see something, they should say something. 6 houses for sale that used to be going to the the PvPers, and then all of a sudden the IDOC system changes and there's all these houses listed for RMT. Say something about it. Yeah, definitely, right? I'm gonna amplify that if I see it, right? It says, and I said, if all I do is take other people's drama and speculate wildly, can you explain why you started listening in the first place? I think that people are trying to make a reputation for Guardian of Ultima that isn't, it's not accurate, right? The more and more people say, like, oh, you should just ban him because he deserves to be banned because he's got a reputation, right? And we're not going to listen to him. Just ban him before he says anything, right? That's like, your tribal brain. You got to calm that down, right? It says here, there's a lot of favoritism and corruption. This is by Dextrom, but Q got a point. Need more hard evidence and less speculation. I just want to say, I feel like this Season 1 has already provided a lot of evidence. And, it seems to me, at least. But I definitely I'm not going to hold myself to some standard that I need evidence of every speculative comment that, before I can read the comments, right? That's all I'm going to do. So, let's move on here. What do we got now? Okay, so this is a thread that I posted on Kotaku in Action on Reddit. It's the Kotaku subreddit. For those of you who aren't familiar, Kotaku in Action is the main hub for Gamergate and Reddit discussion. Gamergate, if you're not familiar with it, is about ethics in journalism, and there was a mishap, and it called into question ethics in journalism, and people wanting honest reviews and messaging that's not deceptive, like we were talking about in the last video, right? But I seen there was this comment. Somebody commented, here, I'll just read what I said. I said, hail Kotaku in Action. I am Guardian of Ultima. They like it if the video is over 5 minutes, that you post some kind of, summary of what's in the video. So I just wrote, I fancy myself as somebody who has been trying to bring accountability and ethics to an online RPG I play, which was created before the DMCA. And as a result, virtually became a casino. Pun intended. Right? I think it's funny because I saw this on the subreddit, and it says casino time, it's a free shard, right? Virtual casino, right? So that's the pun. But this looks like, I see some snow on grass. I see, it's chock full of it looks like slot machines, I think. And I have, there's slot machines in a lot of Ultima Online shards. I've seen that come up lots. But let's take a look here. So I said, bad actors posing as innocent amateur developers seem to have also developed some cunning tactics for manipulating public discourse in their favor, potentially to allow for unethical profits by censoring critics. Those tactics are on the forefront of this video, the last video, which details some of the ways these developers seem to have been using false narratives and shills as a means of taking things that rightfully belong to their players away from them, to be sold at a premium. Right? So, try to see how many different false narratives you can spot as I take a look at 3 different hosts within the broader Ultima Online community. UO Unchained, UO Outlands, and finally, UO New Legacy. And this person deleted all their comments, but they were commenting along the lines of, this is free shard drama and it's pointless to watch, don't watch it, and that's that. And then I said, if only that were true, however, New Legacy is hosted by Broadsword, which runs the official servers, as far as I understand. And, now we're getting into the definition of free shard, because if you remember, on the last video, we looked at the New Legacy, it was Broadsword's post, their update for both New Legacy project and their official shards. And they basically, at the very beginning, they had this picture, it said New Legacy, and right underneath it said free to play, right? And they also have the Endless Journey, which is their free accounts, but we'll get into that in a moment. Anyways, they kind of argued, this person was upset about it. They wanted, if they didn't want official being dragged into what they were calling free shard drama, like as if this is, not something that you should be looking at, basically. And they ended up deleting all their posts, right? But I did say that, is it a false narrative that of Broadsword official Ultima Online staff that occasional disconnects have ensured the integrity of the gaming experience for all players? I don't know, but I do talk a bit about it starting at this time in the video, if that's all you're interested in, right? Anyways, I just wonder if there's this kind of effort by some of these corporations to try and look like they're real players, trying to just, change the narrative because they know it's effective, right? Corporations understand what's in the Kurska's art video, and they have for a long time. I think it's called control groups. They take groups of people and they, pick at their brains and try and figure out how they operate. So they knew about social sorting a long time ago, right? And, they know that, they could use a handful of fake characters, fake alt characters in Discord channels, and just go around saying, this person's got a reputation, this person's got a reputation, and that might actually work, right? Especially if they've already become buddies with those communities by, posting 100,000 times in 2 years or something, right? Let's take a look here. And this is from our Ultima Online now. This is a guide to Endless Journey for returning players. So it's, we're targeting returning players, or maybe we want to just look like we're posting in this community because some of these people would be returning to official, right? This is a guide for people who want to try and relive the original UO emotions on the official servers. I hope you enjoy. Looks like a real regular person talking there, doesn't it? Lowercase I, not very professional looking, but then wham, it's this huge professional looking, nothing like this at all. But actually, like, a lot of effort poured into this, and none into the intro. I'm just saying, in terms of deceptive messaging, are we looking at something official here, or are we looking at something that's unofficial here? That's what we need to be distinct, right? We need that to be distinct. And it's supposed to be according to Reddit's rules. We talked about that at the beginning of the season, right? Anyways, this is the funny part. Way down here in the third paragraph, limits of Endless Journey accounts. It's basically talking about their free accounts. So the first thing you're going to wonder is, what's the difference between the premium and the free? But this kind of makes it like a third thought, when it's the first thing that you're going to ask. And it doesn't really go into it. It just says Endless Journey, aka free-to-play accounts, suffer from several limitations that are explained better on the UO official site. As you know, because if you watched the last video, we went through the verbiage that they used to describe the new changes, aka occasional disconnects, right? Which are for the benefit of gameplay for everybody or something. Fair gameplay for everybody. Again, I don't really know how it works over there, so for all I know, it's nice and balanced and it all works out. But still, I'm just looking at this messaging and I'm just wondering, are we looking at a player talking here, or is this official? I'd like to know these things, right? That was a big part of why I started this whole channel, was to make sure that we knew if this is a community of players or if it's, official or what's going on. And I think it's just funny because this I think it was Macro Planet came publicly and said that he banned me because, I did something he said I could do, which was, I think, just being critical or something. And anyways, let's take a look here. If you remember the New Legacy project, well, around the time that I started these videos, people were wondering if this Macro Planet character works for Broadsword. And around that same time, suddenly, Macro Planet dropped a post that said bad things about Broadsword, feeling abandoned. They didn't do enough for the community, right? And he loves official. He loves New Legacy. And but he really hated that about me, that I really didn't do things like host trivia contests and do things in the community that were, as he would say, positive more than, being critical about shard admins and stuff like that and moderation policies. I wasn't doing enough that's positive for the community. But that's the same beef that he has for New Legacy. And you don't see him making full subreddits for me, right? I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting. He made this subreddit. He posted a link to it right on the Ultima Online front page. Ultima Online has gone up about 500 or 600 subscribers since I started making these videos, which is kind of crazy to me because it hasn't been that long. But Macro Planet did, I think, allude to the fact that he may be an admin, so take it or leave it with those numbers, right? It's just funny because there are 2 members in his New Legacy sub, even though, 600 people have seen that link to it, right? I just wanted to point that out. And then there was another post on Ultima Online that I thought was interesting. And this one is from UO Shadow Age. And it posted their launch trailer. And this Punk Day character is the apparent owner of this shard. It says, a massively rebuilt Age of Shadows experience. UO Shadow Age returns once again. Originally released 10 years ago and became one of the largest AOS, Age of Shadows, 3 shards out there. So Age of Shadows is just one of the combat rule sets. There's T2A mechanics, there's UOR mechanics, and there's Age of Shadows mechanics. Those are the 3 that you're going to run into the most on, in the Ultima Online free shard community, I would say. And basically, he's saying they've rebuilt the landmass. He's calling it the original Feluca landmass. And this is kind of starting to trigger me right off the beginning because he's a senior member of the community. And, I've been making these videos about trying to get these definitions right for the benefit of new players in the community who don't know these, Ultima specific terms, and they need a good definition of it, right? And so basically they took the Feluca facet, the maps that are within the Feluca facet, and it seems like they've enhanced them, right? And then there's some other stuff that they've done. I'm not going to go through it all. It just says, and then here's Outlands Owen. Good luck with your launch. Thanks, heart, right? These guys are buddies, I think. And then here's Rudebex. Says, looks cool. Always love a custom map. And Punkte came in and said it's Feluca 2.0, we call just greatly enhancing and in some cases recreating the Feluca we all love. At the time that I read this, I was very confused, right? I just wanted to make sure that when he's saying Feluca 2.0, was he talking about the rule set or the maps or what, right? And so I wanted to check, and I went to their community to check that out. But before I show you how that went, there was this one other post at the bottom of this thread, and it's from rough estimate 3610, and it says, "Hey guys, I just started 2 days ago playing UO for the first time ever. It seems very interesting, although quite difficult to learn. But so far, I love it. My question," okay, so basically it's a new player, right? And Punkday responded, "Love that the Free Shard community was able to bring a fresh person in who's never played Ultima Online before. I hope that we give you the same awe and wonderment that the original Ultima Online servers gave me and many others when we first played it back in the day. Yeah, don't need to pay at all to play, right?" So it's good to see new players in the community, according to Punkday. Although I think later on you're going to find out that he doesn't really see the community as very many new players. I think he's got very specific statistics for how he sees the community, how he breaks things down there, and I think we're going to be calling into question whether or not he's got accurate opinions or not. Okay, so here's the rules page for this Shadow Age Reborn. I went to their website and I went to check out their rules. It says, "We would rather not have to set out any rules for our services. We know that everyone is capable of behaving maturely and responsibly." Okay, so we see this a lot. A lot of rules start with this line about, "We would rather just not have any rules," and then they have a ton of rules. They don't just have rules on their website. Sometimes they'll have a huge page of rules on their website, then more rules in the Discord, and it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, are these for the game or are these for the Discord or what's going on? But it's just funny. It says it only takes one incident to spoil the fun for everyone. So we need to make it clear what we do and do not tolerate in our community. And then this kind of vague statement, "Ultima Shard staff retain the right to modify or append any rules without prior notice or consent." So I think that just means they can change the rules at any time. "These rules are set in place to protect our shard and keep the Ultima Shard's multiverse fair and fun for everyone." When he says Ultima Shard's multiverse, I think he has other shards that are maybe not Age of Shadows. I can't remember. It says, "When using any of these services provided by Ultima Shards, you automatically agree to adhere to the rules set out on this page." So whether or not you know the rules, they apply. Now here's this part here. Staff will conduct themselves in a professional manner when dealing with players. So they're holding themselves to this standard of professionalism, right? This isn't volunteers, these are professionals. As far as how they wrote this here, that's how it looks, right? It says, "Staff have the final say in any decision. So no matter what, they can always do whatever." It says, "If you feel you have been treated unfairly, contact Might or Punkday to discuss the details of your issue before getting too angry about it and losing your cool." Okay, so that's a little hostile, but that's all right. You have to deal with Punkday, basically, I think, maybe in private messages if you have a problem. So that's what he's looking for you to do, basically. So let's take a look at the conversation that we had with Punkday when we went to the Shadow Age Reborn community Discord channel. It says, excuse me, Guardian of Ultima, that's me. I said, "Always glad to see another free shard out there. Thank you." Oh, wait, sorry. This isn't the beginning of the conversation. I said, "Hi there. Guardian of Ultima here. Nice to meet you all. I saw on the Ultima Online subreddit that this shard will be launching in December with a supposed Feluca 2.0 rule set. And Mr. Ryotes came, he said, well, it's a 2.0 map rather than a rule set. So I think he's trying to say it's just the map is enhanced, right? I was still typing, I think. I said, so I just wanted to reach out to the admins here and mention that if this is a mixed rule set shard, Trammel and Feluca rule sets mixed together, then it should be advertised as mixed Feluca Trammel rule set as opposed to Feluca 2.0 or anything else, right? And this is something I've been trying to mention. If you're going to have some areas that are, a different rule set, then you should say it's a multi-facet shard or multi-rule set, right? But not Feluca only, and then it's not, right? Something we've been trying to avoid and enforce some standards on in the community. Mr. I said it's not. It's Feluca rule set with an upgraded Feluca map. One facet, so we call it Feluca 2.0. Fair enough. Puncti came and said it's visual design updates to the map in which we call Feluca 2.0. Fair enough, I said, sounds good to me. I'm not going to be too picky or anything like that. Mr. Riot's smiling, everyone's smiling. And then Puncti came and said this. He said, those map design updates include some town cuts to the original Feluca world, dungeon enhancements, dungeon remakes, pathing, land improvements, yada yada. But we are most definitely a custom rule set server. Try to stay mechanically accurate to the original Age of Shadows PvP mechanics, right? The combat rule set. So, we're always all over the place with these terms and stuff in the community, and I feel like that's kind of opened the door to bad actors coming in and abusing, the vulnerable population who are, maybe not quite familiar with what these terms mean, right? They may choose to donate a bunch of money on Outlands and then find out that, you can't cast invisibility on someone's pet, right? And that was the whole point. Like, imagine you're just playing a game and there's no rules about casting invisibility on someone's pet, but you did it 3 times and someone complained 3 times, and you have no rights. You don't have a right to being treated professionally all of a sudden. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So, it's something that we really want to avoid, and that's what this video is about. But he said custom rule set, and, I didn't quite catch, he was talking about AOS mechanics, maybe. I just wanted to mention, like, if it's custom rule set, let's try to mention that, I think. He said, but for all intents and purposes, it's not Trammel, it's Feluca. With the original Feluca rules, you are not 100% safe from being attacked by people or stolen from, etc. And then I said, if your shard is a custom rule set server, you should refrain from using the word Feluca as the name of your map. It's not a map, it's a facet with a lot of different maps within it, right? Generally, players view Feluca as a set of rules which allow for PvP at all times, with the exception being that towns are typically protected by NPC guards, right? So, with Outlands, they say Feluca, but then they have a bunch of areas, dungeon maps, they have Feluca mechanics in there. Buck's Den area, Corpse Creek, where you can attack certain players at certain times for some reason. There's the Shelter Island, and there's sheltered dungeons and everything now, right? So those are Trammel areas, so it's not Feluca, right? And, it's very confusing for some players, because then they cast invisibility on someone's pet, and they're ripped away from their bodies, right? They're ripped away from their friend who's in there saying they would give you the shirt off their back, and, you just don't know enough about this person to know that this isn't, maybe this person's only friend in their life or something, right? And it just says, Puncti said, I think there's a large population of people in the UO community who understand that when someone says Feluca map, they specifically are referring to both the rule set and the map itself. when people talk about Feluca itself, they're talking about the facet. He says, I don't think enough people care to have that be a discussion. Maybe 1 to 2 people that would care that we differentiate between the name, rule set, facet, which for all intents and purposes are and can be used synonymously with each other. Right? So this 1 to 2 people, that's, more statistics that he's coming up with. Maybe it's based on personal experience or something, right? It says, and Feluca essentially means the map, facet, and rule set put together. With that being said, like I mentioned before, we are a Feluca rule set server using the Feluca facet with updates, towns, dungeons, POIs, etc. Right? At this point, I'm just trying to clarify. He did say custom rule set, so now we're back to it's Feluca again. So okay, right on. I guess the custom has something to do with the Age of Shadows, but I don't really understand. So as soon as I guess it's a custom Age of Shadows. Maybe they just don't have certain things like bags of sending. I don't think they have. And so, it's a custom AOS rule set. Maybe that's what he was talking about, right? But I was just trying to clarify. And then this nose goblin comes and says, just an FYI, Guardian of Ultima is a troll who was banned from many of the Free Shard Discords. This is the bird carrying the ban sign in the Kurskazart video, right? Don't feed the troll. He's labeling me for everyone to see, and he's hoping that, based on reputation alone, nobody will listen to me for whatever reason, right? And here's Mr. Riot, who's came to say, I am positive he is here to spread positive vibes and is as excited as we are that the launch date is finally announced. Nose Goblin says, oh, my young child. And, I just said, I am here to protect Ultima Online players, as with any channel I attend. I also don't look kindly on personal attacks, which appear to have gone unaddressed here, right? Please do not spread false narratives about my character. Unfortunately, we live in a world where bad actors are always trying to find vulnerable people to take advantage of. So as senior members of the community, I feel as though it is our responsibility to take the time to ensure that we are not confusing newer players by misusing terminology that is unique to the title in order to protect them from deceptive messaging or false advertising, right? And then Winter says, I'm here for the boats and hoes. I'm not exactly sure, but I'd say most people are. I don't have any hard data for those statistics, but a lot of people have told me that. It says if the shard is a custom rule set, then it should be labeled that way from the beginning and clarified. If it's a Feluca rule set, then it should also be called that from day one. Right? Changing the rule set, especially after accepting monetary donations, is viewed as unethical and may lead to negative publicity for the shard. So at this point, I'm just saying the standards that I've been trying to enforce, and I think these guys, maybe took it like I was being accusatory or inflammatory, like in the rules of Punkte's rules when he was inflammatory about, don't go out losing your cool and being too angry or anything, right? So I think they got a little defensive here, and maybe in the future when I join a channel, I'll say something like, I'm not here for any reason specifically, just here, hey, hello or whatever, just trying to clarify some things or whatever, right? Because it seemed like maybe I should do that. And Mr. Riots is like, wait, what? Changing rule set? Punkte was like, I would say this in response to your original questions. It would lend you more credibility in your hunt to catch server admins lying or being unforthcoming and make videos about it. To ask the rule set of the server before trying to make a statement about how a server should advertise itself. Okay, like I said, I didn't come to say anything, right? That wasn't my intention for anyone to think that. So I clarify that later here. It said, to ask the rule set of the server, etc. You didn't actually read anything I responded to you, which is inaccurate, the custom rule set thing. So I was just trying to clarify. It says, I was actually trying to be as cordial as I can with you, knowing full well who you were beforehand, because you inherently have a bad reputation among majority of servers, and word gets around in the emulation community. So he's basically saying, he's barely able to even think critically about the things I'm saying at all because of my reputation. And that's what the Kurskazart video was saying is a problem with, the way that our brains work, right? So we have to think about that, right? People are always going to come. There's always going to be a handful of people that are going to go around to every channel saying, "Oh, Guardian of Ultima bad. You should just ban him without listening to him at all immediately," right? But we have to do better than that, right? I really would like to try to avoid that, because you don't, like I say, you don't know someone's situation. I have played Ultima Online for a long time. I've had a lot of vendor malls, and I've talked to a lot of players, and it seems to me like a lot of players play Ultima Online because it's cheap. They can get away from, addictions, or, it could be alcohol or drugs or gambling, or, they're trying to avoid, problems, right? Or you never know if somebody's just a kid in a wheelchair, right? Who's, basically been on death row, terminally ill since they were born or something. And their parents just aren't able to become attached to those children. And so this children is living a miserable life, and the only thing maybe in their life that's good is this game that they can escape to, right? So we don't want to presuppose that everybody is a certain demographic, and we don't want to purport false narratives about that sort of thing either. I just said, in Mr. Riot's was, wait, what, changing rule set. So I just said, say, if you wanted to add more maps to your Felucca 2.0 facet, which had rule sets closer to what UO players may consider Trammel, then you're a mixed rule sets shard, right? Punk Day was like, I would strongly urge you to actually read what we've been saying to you. And I was just like, or in some cases, shards claim to be Felucca rule sets, but then every event they host is closer to what may be expected of a Trammel server, right? Land masses that are coming out that are, all the houses are lottoed off to new players or something, right? Maybe you might not even get one. It says, in short, if you take money from this community and promise to deliver something to them, then I would strongly recommend delivering it to avoid, negative publicity, right? So I'm just trying to lay down some ground rules with different shards. It's not like I'm saying they did anything at all on this shard, right? Punkty's here, but I think people are getting very defensive at this point. I probably should have said something sooner. But it says, here's my advice to you, take it or leave it. Your videos come off as predatory and inflammatory in a community where 99% of the servers that exist, barring a couple, are mostly run off volunteering time and resources from both players and staff. The average age of people who are playing UO at this point still is like 35 plus. We are all grown adults who are more than capable of being able to make informed decisions, right? Well, he's holding them to this standard of being 35 plus, maturely able to, make decisions on how they're behaving in the game, because staff have final say on any of that, right? And, that's the standard. It seemed like his inflammatory rules were trying to hold you to, right? It says, from my 10 minutes of interacting with you, I can tell that 1, your scrutiny is not in good faith, and your videos make a habit of that. Your videos exist to spread negativity within the UO Free Shard community, which is already a community that is thinning out as time goes by. Well, why is that exactly? What do you think that is? I'd love to know. And what are we doing about it exactly? Are we just, continuing to purport these false narratives about that everyone's 35 plus? Or are we making changes? Clarifying, specific terms and holding people to a certain standard. It just seems like nobody wants to do that. None of these supposed leaders in the community want to do that. The subreddit mods really don't want to do anything like that. They don't want to bring up Felucca or Trammel because they want everyone to just think that's toxic. And at this point, I think it's pretty obvious that people are being taken advantage of because we're not doing these things. So that's why I say we need these rules, right? We need better rules about false advertising and stuff like that. We definitely do. And he's just saying, that my videos exist just to spread negativity, right? This is the reputation that he's probably heard about, and this is why he's not able to really, have a conversation with me just about these things, right? It says, but I am trying to take personal responsibility for not saying that nothing's happened. That's before when I first show up, right? I guess. It says, knowing full well who you are before coming in here, I gave you already the benefit of the doubt and responded to your messages as if you were a regular player. I am a regular player, by the way. It says, contrary to the voices of multiple other free shards, who voice to just ban you at the moment you come into a server's channel. Well, there's a reason they're doing that, buddy. I assure you about that. It says, you immediately fulfilled the scrutiny that other shard owners, emulation community members had of you by coming in with a presupposed thought process with negative intentions. Like he's a mind reader, knows my intentions. Because I had answered your questions clearly and concisely, and you just kept going, right? It's all good. Like I say, I mean, these guys, it kind of makes sense that they're a bit defensive, but I didn't mean for anything, anybody to think anything untoward had happened when I got there. But clearly, this is the person that you're going to be dealing with, who is supposed to be, he's, he says in his rules, he's holding himself to being professional with players at all times. So, if you do something he doesn't like, maybe you're just not a player anymore. I don't know. I would really like to see people holding themselves to that standard that they keep saying that they're holding themselves to. That's all it is, right? If you're going to say you're professional, you're not a volunteer anymore. You're a professional now. So be professional, right? If you're taking donations at all, don't say it's totally free. I'm not saying they said this, but I did see somebody in the Reddit comments about their launch video saying that they're totally free, and that's not necessarily true if they have donations, right? Some players who are very competitive are going to see, they don't want there to be donations on some shards. So if they see totally donation free or totally free, they're going to think maybe that there's no donations. And, sometimes, like I say, they prefer if there's really no donations, just to make sure that there's no pay to win going on, right? GMs can change a lot of mechanics that you wouldn't really know that they changed, and all of a sudden somebody's a superhero compared to you, right? And then Kavath aptly says that Feluca is a moon. And indeed, Feluca is a moon. I think you'll see on the... This might take a second to load up. Oh no, there it is right there. This little blue thing right here in the top, this is the moon Feluca. Underneath the RU of Scams banner here is a bigger red moon. It's the Trammel moon, right? But in terms of what we were talking about, rule sets, right? And context is kind of key. Anyways, I wanted to go back to what we were talking about with, you never know if somebody is 35 plus or not, right? If somebody's a player who is engaging in player versus player and they're casting invisibility on somebody's pet 3 times, you don't know that it's not a kid in a wheelchair, like I said, going through hell, and that friend in the game who's standing up for them is maybe their only friend at all, right? In the world, right? And now that friend doesn't want to quit the game. They don't want to quit because they got all their items in the game. They got all that time investment in the game. They've got other friends in the game. And maybe they've got problems of their own, and that's why they want to play the game. They need the game, right? So, before we tear relationships apart, let's make sure that there's actually rule violations. Let's not say that everyone's 35, because not everyone is 35. As I think you'll see in this video.
Hey guys, I said I was going to start an Ultima Online series of, how to make a tamer. So here we go. This is basically just how you need to get started. You need to kind of make a macro at Compassion Island. It's like a desert area near Britain Woods. But be careful because there's a lot of PKs here, so you're going to need a hider to stay right there.
Okay, I'm not going to make you watch that whole thing, but this is a video by Papy, okay? He is a, 9 years ago, Papy tells me that 9 years ago when he made this video, he was 6 years old. Okay, he's talking about putting a hiding character here. He's doing taming in like the worst place to do it, you know, for PKs and stuff like that. It's kind of funny because, you know, 3 years later, so 6 years ago, here's Papy again. You know, he's all skilled up now.
I know I'ma see a better day. It gotta be a better place. Gotta get up out of section 8. I dream about it every day. Everybody saying yeah. It gotta be a better way. Yeah, man. It gotta be a better way. Hey, look. I know I'm
Everybody's saying yeah. You know, this is 6 years ago. Papy is 9 in this video now, and he's PvPing with the PKs and shit. Like, he's you know, like I'm saying, you know, this is somebody who you might encounter casting invisibility on someone's pet, and he's 9, right? This could be. I'm not saying he is in a wheelchair. I'm saying he could be in a wheelchair, right? Or do you think that, you know, I'm not, you know, do you think that he's gonna tell anybody? He's gonna say, oh, and you know, please let me play because I've got addiction problems, or, you know, or I'm a kid in a wheelchair or something, right? I got mental illness problems and I need the game or something, right? Like, do you think anyone's going to tell Owen that, the way that he behaves? Do you think anyone's going to be comfortable doing that? So nobody's ever going to say if they're in a wheelchair they have all these problems. I'm saying that a lot of Ultima Online players probably have these problems, and we need to be careful about the way that we treat each other and the way that we treat them, because this won't stand. It's not great. I feel really bad for these people that get in these situations where they're told, you know, you cast invisibility on someone's pet, this is it for you here now. You got complained about 3 times and that's it. And no professionalism is at all from the get-go. As soon as he's in jail, no professionalism. Just rude to him right off the bat, you know. The guy's obviously going to be angry that you took him to jail, right? So don't be rude to him, you know, right off the bat. And I'm just saying, you don't know who it is, right? So these false narratives, we really need to dispel them and be a lot more mature, I think. What I'm really hoping for is that people in the Ultima Online community are going to help me try to send a message to these guys. There's Owen and Punkte, you know, BFFs on Reddit there. They have these narratives about how everyone is an old wizard and it's okay to be abusive because they knew better or something, right? It's never okay to be like, it's never okay to treat people like that. It's never okay to just treat people like, oh, you got too angry now after this incident. You don't think that you're being treated fairly, but now you've been too angry before coming in behind closed doors with me, Punkte, right? Why are we running things like this? Like, send a message to these people, please. Try to help me send a message to these people this holiday season. Don't donate to Outlands. Don't play Shadow Age. Just try to help dispel these false narratives. If these people aren't going to come to the Discord and say that they're not going to do these things anymore, hold them to task this holiday season. That's what I'm asking you to do, all right? Because we need to do this as a community. We need to be looking out for the people in the community that I think have been getting hurt. And now we have a reputation in the community for Ultima Online. It's a place where there's a lot of toxicity and free shard drama, etc., right? People don't want to come and play UO, which is really good for their lives if they come and play UO. It's cheap, like it is. You know, it helps them get away from those problems. And I want them to feel comfortable to come here and play. So help me out. And I think a lot of it is, you know, what people need to do. This is something I want to leave you with. When you're trying to pick a shard, and no one else is going to tell you this, when you're looking for a shard, try to find one that you think has goals that are good goals. Like they want to entertain you. A lot of these a lot of these games, whatnot, they could put out a lot of content, but are they doing that to entertain you, or are they doing it to sell you content, right? That's all I'm trying to say. So, think about when you're looking for a shard, try to think about what their goals are before you join, before you play. And, if the goal is, if the reason that some of these shard owners are saying that everyone's 35 is because they don't want you to maybe know that they're after mom's credit card. That's what they're looking for here, right? That's what they're just trying to get. Maybe that's why it says professional on the website everywhere, but then there's absolutely no professionalism in the Discord, and they're totally comfortable with that, right? Because mom's not looking in the Discord, she's looking at the website. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't really know, but let's try and fix this together. That's what I've been asking for, and stay tuned for part 2 of the season 1 finale about who is the Guardian, who really is the Guardian. We're going to talk about what's gone on for me and in my history, and this stuff started early. I felt like official servers were not treating people very fairly, and that's where this all began. So stay tuned for that, because it's going to be good. All right, cheers. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't done so already, definitely subscribe and take a look at that Kurska's art video. Links in the description.